Hello everyone, this is Dilshani from Literary Genius, and this is the last video lesson of the series of videos in Analyzing Better My Heart. And in this video, I'm going to focus particularly on themes and a critical thinking exercise. As you can see, there are two main themes in the sonnet. One is the conflict between faith and rationality, and the other one is the power of spiritual love over earthly love. Let's look at the first theme. If you can remember, the speaker talked about reason being the local ruler in the town. This is with reference to the former video we did, and that reason has turned against God. Because of this, he can't show his faith in God, because the original function of reason, according to the speaker, is to show him the correct path towards heavens. And since reason is captured and now weak, he can't do this. So there is internal conflict between reason and faith. This weak reason or unfaithful reason obstructs him from being spiritually complete. And the second one here presents the power of spiritual love. If you can remember, we talked about some forces which keep him away from God. First, he says he's like a captured town belonging to someone else, and the next moment he says he's a groom married to someone else than his true love. So you can see these metaphysical conceits. They stand for certain forces that keep him away from God, and these forces actually they stand for earthly bonds or earthly love. This is the love towards everything that is earthly. It could be romantic love, it could be any other materialistic love, anything. And the spiritual love, on the other hand, stands for the love towards God, the speaker's love towards God, and God's love towards the speaker. And this spiritual love is actually more powerful than all kinds of earthly bonds and love, for that matter. Okay, by now you could clearly understand that all the components of this sonnet, from its structure to the meter to the techniques and other literary features, are connected to these two themes I mentioned earlier. Our role as analysts is to figure out these connections, the logical connections. To make these logical connections, we need to train our minds a little bit. So that is why I have come up with this little exercise. So hopefully this will help you in developing your critical, analytical and creative thinking. So let's start things off. As you can see on the screen, this is the first 4 lines of the sonnet, and below that I have placed a graph. And in this graph you can see 3 things. On the top you have the main idea or the theme. To your right there's the device section or the techniques or literary features, call it as you may. And finally to your left you have the interpretation of the device section. And as you can see, all these 3 components are interconnected. What you have to do is to build up a meaningful connection between these components. I'll do the first one for you so you could get what I'm trying to do here, and afterwards you could do it by yourself. So here we go. You can start from any place you want actually. I like to start from the device section because it's very much easier. So the very first feature I detected was the metrical deviation in the first and the third lines. The word batter starts with a stressed syllable which goes against the regular iambic meter which starts from an unstressed syllable. And in the third line, this has 1 extra syllable, and that also goes against the regular iambic meter which should only contain 10 syllables per line. This has 11 syllables. Then I moved into the second square to the left, which is the interpretation of the device section. So you could see how I interpreted this device. I think the metrical variation stands for the aggressive and unusual action the speaker is asking for. I hope that made sense to you. And now I'm going to connect this interpretation with the theme. Remember we talked about 2 themes, right? This actually connects with the second one that explores the power of spiritual love over earthly love. In this section he talks about his fervent desire to love God. When you are trying to connect it or when you are trying to interpret it, you can always refer back to your lines. There's nothing to prevent you from that. In this section, he talks about his fervent desire to believe or love God. He denies everything else, everything that is earthly. That is why he asks God to destroy him, batter him completely, and make him a new man again. Okay, so it directly connects with the second theme, this power of spiritual love, and in this case, mostly his love towards God, his fervent desire to believe in God. So like this, you can locate the devices in this section and create the connections to its main ideas. In this case, we started from the metrical deviation, and we interpreted the metrical deviation that it stands for the aggressive and unusual action the speaker is asking for, because normally people don't ask God to batter them, attack them, destroy them as a means of spiritually cleansing them. What I have seen so far is people asking guidance from God, not necessarily attacking them. So that is why he deviates from those regular ways of interacting with God. That stands for the deviation from the regular iambic pentameter. Okay, now I have used other devices in this exercise, so you can pause the video and complete this graph step by step using each and every device. And since I don't have much time, I'm going to the next one. Here I have taken alliteration into account, and I'm going to focus on the words that are alliterated: break, blow, burn in the fourth lines. And I think these alliterated words show the intensity of his desire to rebuild his faith in God. On the one hand, you can start from these alliterated words are very violent. The explosive B sounds they create are very violent, and this actually mirrors how badly he wants to show his faith in God. He is willing to go into any extent, even to destroy himself completely. And this once again connects with the second theme, his fervent desire to love and believe in God. And the overarching theme happens to be the second theme, the power of spiritual love over earthly bonds. Okay, and likewise we can go into the next device, and enjambment. We talked about enjambment. Enjambment means simply means run on lines. For example, you could see in the first line, for you as yet, and in the third line, and bend your force. I mentioned earlier that enjambment creates a slight tension, because this delays the completion of the meaning. When you break the line into two without completing its meaning, there's a slight delay in completing meaning, and the uncertainty involved in this creates a mild tension. And this actually, enjambment, therefore, reflects the tension and desperation experienced by the speaker. Hope you understood the connection. And this again connects with the second theme we talked about. This tension is mainly highlights his tension, desperation to believe in God, to love God. He's trying so hard, but he can't do it due to certain forces. Okay. And the last one, elision. Elision simply means omission, or the deleting of certain letters from certain words. For example, look at the words person and overthrow in the first and the third lines. This is used to maintain the meter of the sonnet actually, because added syllables will change the regular meter. So you need to cut down certain syllables. The way is to use elision. You are placing the word with an apostrophe. So the three syllabled word like person or rather overthrow becomes two syllable words. So therefore it can retain the meter. So how are we going to, that is the interpretation. This helps, elision helps to maintain the meter of the sonnet, iambic pentameter. And how is it, how does it connect with our theme we talked about earlier? How are we going to connect it? Here, more than focusing on the direct way of connecting it, I tried to talk about its effect, the effect created by elision, to convey the message effectively. This is slightly different from our earlier ways of connecting the technique to the theme. You might wonder. Yes, it is. For example, I'll go back here. Enjambment reflects the tension and desperation of the speaker, and it shows how desperately he wants to love God, and this is slightly different, but still you can use this. So the elision is actually used to convey the message effectively. The message being is love towards God. Okay, now with that we come to the end of our series of video lessons and our exercise as well. And keep on exercising your mind so you could practice this a little bit, and you know that there are no hard and fast rules in analyzing and making these connections. All you have to do is to keep your connections logical, don't be too far-fetched, and take into account all these evidences, all these components when you are trying to get at something. And try this exercise with the rest of the sonnet as well, and if you do this continuously for 1 or 2 weeks, you will feel that you are improving yourself. Believe me, it happens. And with that, I am very thankful to each and every one of you for staying with us throughout this video series, the video lessons, and I hope to meet you again to another video lesson. And until then, work hard, stay focused, and always wish you luck, and thanks for watching.